Hey, ambitious dentist, welcome to Start Your Dental Practice, the show for existing and aspiring dentists to take your dental practice to the highest possible level. I'm your host, Jonathan Van Horn, CPA and ABV, founder of dentistmetrics.com. In every episode, we aim to demystify the how to start a dental practice problem by bringing on world-class dentists, influencers, and consultants in the dental industry to pick their brain about how to get past the barriers involved from going from no practice to being a practice owner to owning your own successful dental practice.
Hey guys, you're going to love today's episode. We've got a really great guest on for you. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about last week's episode 20, where I kind of riffed on some dental CPA items. I had a few people contact me questioning how I stated some things. I just want to make something really clear. If I mentioned any names in that podcast, that was a ringing endorsement for those people. And of the people that I listed, those people are not specialists in any one thing. They are the people that I was talking about that do multiple different things. People within their company do multiple different things. And I just wanted to clear the air on that because I had some confusion, had a few people emailing me, asking me questions about that. So just FYI, if I mentioned any of my fellow CPAs' names, that is a ringing endorsement. The reason I mention their names is because I want you guys to, for those to be the kind of people that you're listening to that I'm talking about, that if you look someone up, those are the kind of people that I want you to go towards. I wouldn't mention a name of someone that I didn't want you to go with because I wouldn't want you to look them up and then be tricked into using them, I guess is the way of saying it. So anyway, just want to make that real clear. And in today's episode, I have with us Curtis Marshall from Dental Intel. So we're going to dive into his background just a second. He's got a really cool backstory. But again, before that, we're going to talk about a few of the things we're going to hear about today. We're going to learn about how to become the number one dentist in a specific area that your target market lives in. We're going to talk a little bit about how Curtis and I'm going to actually start using this. It's a really good tip of how to quit talking about dentistry in front of our friends and family that aren't in the dental industry. We're going to talk about how to project your dental practice's growth with really, really high levels of precision, how to use what Curtis calls a crystal ball to be able to know exactly how to become a better clinician. We're going to talk about some of the mindset behind finding the balance between being a CEO, a good business person, and being able to offer really great patient services without spending a ton of money on it and diminishing your profits. We're going to talk a little bit about the pitfalls that a lot of dental practice owners fall into when they stop measuring the different aspects within their business. And then we're going to talk about the 4 main points of a dental practice that you must understand from Curtis. So at the end of this episode, I'm really excited about this. At the end of this episode, you're going to hear a really amazing offer from Curtis for our bonus today. So make sure you listen all the way through because it's a really, really impressive bonus that I've never seen their company offer to anyone. And it's going to be able to help a lot of dental practices. So anyway, now on to today's episode with Curtis Marshall from Dental Intel.
Hello, ambitious dentist. I'm here with Curtis Marshall of Dental Intel fame. He is well known on the Dental Town boards. He's been interviewed in multiple other places. He's a great friend. He's a good friend of Dentist Metrics, our accounting company, and I'm happy to have it with us today. Curtis Marshall, how you doing, Curtis?
Really good. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for having me today, and hello and good morning, good evening, good night to anyone who's listening.
Yeah, so Curtis, tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us how you got into dentistry, how you got connected with Dental Intel, and just tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Oh yeah, thanks. So real quick, graduated in marketing is my background, and got married to a beautiful wife, and just so happened that her family was in the dental field. And if anybody who has family in the dentistry field, they know that everybody seems to follow together. And her father had a really thriving practice, 2 sons in dental school, and both going to come out, and he wanted to grow his practice for them. So I jumped on, helped him out with marketing and case acceptance, case presenting, And we grew that practice from about 27-ish new patients a month to over 400 new patients a month.
Wow.
And
So
what's that?
what? That's a giant change. You got to share with us what happened from 27 to 400.
Oh yeah. So well, it's consistency. The first thing is consistency and understanding that finding out how much we could spend, meaning how much a patient was worth to us, and then making sure that we spend that consistently over and over again. I had a good friend, and maybe many of you have probably heard of him, Michael Abernathy. Michael Abernathy, I was speaking to him one time, and he said, "All right, Curtis, if you could pay $100 for a new patient to come in, would you pay that?" I'm like, well, yeah. So why aren't you spending $1,000 to acquire 10? And the light bulb came on. It was something that we worked with our whole organization within the dental office, and we just moved forward with it. So we set a budget. We found out how much we could spend, how much we needed to bring back on. So our ROI, making sure that we got the right amount of patients come in, and we just followed it and stayed consistent. Sometimes we'd have lows, but we just stayed consistent, and it eventually rose. And they're still. I'm not with the practice anymore, but they're still doing between 300 and 400 a month.
That's amazing. So, what if you could, give us one marketing tip? Not just a numbers-based tip. If you give one marketing tip to the people listening out there, what's one thing that somebody can maybe implement today into their practice that might get, say, 5 new patients a month that they may not be doing right now?
Well, that's a funny thing, Jonathan, because every office is so different. Every
Mm-hmm.
location is so different. In that office, it was mailers. Mailers were by far the best. And what you do with mailers is you send it a mass, so you send it to everybody, not just a specific targeted group, but you send it to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We were at one time sending it just to certain households that made X amount of dollars, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
wanted those high ticket items. Then I was talking to the doctor and I said, "Doctor, there are people in apartments that drive BMWs. They have money. They just aren't in the big houses." So then we spread it to everyone. Didn't matter who you were, we spread it to everyone within a 10-ish mile radius.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, we became the number one source for dentists in that area. We were known, and people saw over and over again, even though they weren't a client yet, they kept seeing it, and then eventually they'd come in, or patient, I should say.
Very cool.
Yeah,
What
but go ahead.
do you remember one of what was offered in that mailer? Was it just information about the practice, or was there like some type of offer included with that?
Oh yeah, good question. So what we did offer was a free exam and X-ray for all new pepatients, and every once in a while we throw in something like a bleaching, 2-for-1 bleaching or something like that. But our MO was to make sure that every patient who came in had a free exam and X-ray, because if you want to find out what's going on, you don't necessarily want to pay for it. Was the thought process.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, so back to your story. You're helping your family's practice, your wife's family's practice, go from 27 new patients a month to 300 to 400 new patients a month, and then what happened after that?
Yeah, so well, we eat, breathe, sleep dentistry. In fact, we're even going on a vacation to Costa Rica next year, here in a few months, to view the Invisalign plant
Mm-hmm.
down there. So yeah, we love it. We've been in it. We're immersed in it. In fact, every once in a while, people, the in-laws who are not associated with dentistry, they have a secret word. It's Oklahoma. So if we're talking too much dentistry, somebody just needs to say Oklahoma, and then we cut it off.
I need to implement something with that with my friends, because I have so many friends, so many clients that are friends that have became friends over time, and I've got so many long-term friends that are in dentistry. And every time I get together, we all talk about dentistry, or one of us and the spouse does, and then my wife and their spouse is always just like, "Are you guys talking about dentistry again?" That's a good one. We need to think of one for that.
Oklahoma.
Okay.
So So we love it. That's what I'm basically getting into. And at the time, I really wanted to. I saw that quite a few years back. I saw that the multiple practices was really a key for growing. And I told my father-in-law, I go, hey, I want to start getting more practices because number one, my what I'm able to get paid, but I wanted to get more practices. And at the time, they didn't want to, so I left and came over here to Dental Intel. Since then, they have got multiple practices, which is ironic, but they're still thriving, doing well. Over here at Dental Intel, uh, I we were first before before we actually provided software. We provided CFO and accounting services, just like yourself,
Hmm.
to dentists because I knew the importance of numbers. The way we were able to grow from 27 to hundreds of new patients and even 1 million collections to over 7 million collections was by numbers. Numbers will tell you exactly what you need to do. 2 plus 2 is always 4, right?
Hmm.
And so I found these guys that were working with dentists, so same industry, and they're working with numbers. It was a no-brainer. Came over here, started working with certain type of lead generation information, teaching dentists the importance of leading their practice by numbers. And then we created an amazing software, something that no one else has. Most times, a software for metrics are reports put onto a pretty dashboard with
Hmm.
information up there, right? Well, what our information does is it pulls it from the practice management software and from financials, so like QuickBooks, takes it all, uses intelligence, and then tells you what to do, almost like a crystal ball. Shows you what you need to do in order to reach success. And it has improved thousands of clients' lives. I get to talk to, we have hundreds of dentists on our software, and I get to talk to a lot of them. And it's so fun to hear their success stories over and over again of, I didn't know it was this easy. Or, in fact, I was talking to a doctor in Texas, and he was telling me, Curtis, I've always wanted to be able to do better clinically. Now that I know how my practice is running, I'm able to be a better clinician. Thank you. And it touched, I mean, because I'm eat, breathe, and sleep, and vacation dentistry, it really hit me hard.
Hmm.
And so
So,
that's where we're
it,
at.
explain to me how dental intel helps people be better clinicians.
Oh, good. Good question, Jonathan. So ultimately, uh, we as human beings are really only able to do one thing. Oftentimes, we often hear that women are able to multitask, uh, but scientific research has proven that we cannot multitask. It's very difficult. And so, with that being said, and I know I can't. That's for certain.
Hmm.
Uh,
They actually
but
that this last study I read actually said that we are as a society getting worse over time at multitasking. So even if we weren't good at it, 20 years ago, as technology progresses, we get so used to being like just zoned into one thing, like our phones or the computers or the podcast, at doing multiple things because so many things drive our attention nowadays. But yeah, I could talk about psychology forever, but go ahead with your point.
yeah, all I was saying was, this doctor and multiple doctors, there's a struggle, right? They have to take good care of their patients, and they also have to run a successful practice.
Hmm.
And what was great back in the day was that there wasn't any marketing. There weren't people, jerks like myself, trying to get do marketing for dentists. But uh, there were doctors. All they had to focus on was making sure they were a good dentist. The patients and the business end would just go, just do okay. They didn't have to ever worry about it. But now they really have to focus both on being a CEO, chief executive officer, and also a business person, and also a great dentist or a clinician. And so the only way that they can make money, though, is they can't make money being a CFO or CEO. They can only make money by doing dentistry. And so they need to be a good clinician. And when you're trying to do both of those together, sometimes both of them will not do as well. So when you have dental intel that tells you what to do on the business side, now you don't have to worry about it. You can just push it away and focus on it for 5-10 minutes a day rather than always keeping it on top of your mind, and just focus on drilling and filling.
A lot of the things I see a lot of practice owners get bogged down with is they'll come out of the gate with this idea that they're going to be able to do this type of tracking or keep on top of these numbers by themselves over a long period of time. And what ends up typically happening is that they realize, wow, the infrastructure for me to be able to do this effectively is so poor because I'm back here, busting my butt nine hours a day, trying to give all of myself to all of these patients that come in, handling all of these employee issues that come up. Maybe I take an admin day, a half admin day, depending on where you are in the country, and they try to get some of those things done, but other things come up, like they've got to pay the bills, or they've got to deal with the accounting, or they've got to deal with there's been something happened in one of the operatories that only they can seem to figure out how to do. They get so bogged down in these little things that they can't look at these big pictures. And once they try to look at those big pictures, that infrastructure is so poor because, and I've said about this many times on the podcast, that I hate all of the practice management softwares. Open Dental has came a long way, but there's so many inefficiencies within those practice management softwares that it's really hard to be able to get any type of meaningful, actionable information out of that. You can get data. You can get 1 million tons of bits of data of reports that you can print out. I mean, I think there's 2 billion reports in EagleSoft that you can probably print out. But, just looking at one of those reports gives you almost no context. You've got to look at, 5 to 10 to 20 to 100 of those. And then you've got to look at them every day and then compile them in order for those to actually make any actionable sense, to see any types of trends to where you can or cannot take any action based off of that. And it takes so long. It would take a PhD in computer science to be able to build, an Excel spreadsheet that could give you anything, outside of saying, building like a, production per day type table, or you'd be able to see, your average production per day. And that's really what you try and go by. And that's what a lot of people focus on in the consulting industry, is they say, this is what your BAM, bare ass minimum, or your daily goal should be. And it's all derived from, here's what we feel like your year should be. You're probably going to work this many days this year, so this is what your daily goal should be. And that's what most of the consultants charge you a bunch of money to try and figure out for you. But what I like about Dental Intel is that it actually does you can actually build that into that platform, and then it takes your practice management software data and puts it into a realistic, easy to view manner that can give you some context, and then you can drive your decisions around those different data points or different insights that Dental Intel gives you. And again, in the podcast, I've talked about this plenty of times. I get really geeky over software, and there's a reason. It's because, like what you said before, there are so many great dentists out there that have, 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 hours learning how to be this amazing provider of oral health care. But they have almost no training in being a business owner. So they adopt these old habits that are so easy to do whenever you come into it as a new practice owner. If you acquire a practice, or if maybe you've started a practice with mentorship from another dentist, and you just use their processes to be able to make things happen. You adopt these old habits, and you just kind of get into the cycle of just saying, okay, whatever we're doing right now is the only way to be able to do things, because it's the path of least resistance in that clinician's life. It's the easiest thing for them to be able to do, so they continue to do it. The reason I like software is because it can give you objective data to be able to say, this is what's happening. Or it allows you to define your processes around that information, around that software. So things like Yappy, things like Weave, things like Dental Intel are all tools that you can use to be able to focus your practice, focus your systems and your processes. And so the software helps drive the process to where you can actually make these changes and you're not stuck in those old habits. So that's the reason I get kind of geeky over software, over good software. There's a lot of bad software out there, but good software can do these things. It's easy to look at. It doesn't take a whole lot of your time. So you're not bogged down, taking time away from your family and your kids and your patients and your employees families and all, your community, all these other things. Software can solve a lot of these problems because someone who has spent a lot of time, energy, and effort has developed these things to be able to create these systems and that can drive these processes. So I went off on a bit of a mini tangent there, Curtis, but
No, it's right on key. You're right on key.
Yeah. So,
well, just to kind of go on your same point, Jonathan. So, as you could imagine, for 300 to 400 new patients a month was daunting. And I had to talk with most of them as a patient advocate, right?
Mhm.
I would go home. I like smiling. I smile a lot, but my mouth would hurt because I was working with so many new patients. But what I was going to mean saying to that is reports are interesting. The reports that you're able to pull from your practice management software, they tell you what's happened in the past, right? It's like if you're driving a car, it's like telling you like driving forward while looking in the rearview mirror. You're hoping that you don't get in an accident, and if you did get in an accident, after you pass it, you see it in the rearview mirror, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we were doing. In fact, the reports for new patients versus the reports that we would do manually for new patients, so like 1, 2, 3, those two were always completely different because the data that our practice management software thought we wanted for new patients was
Mhm.
spitting us one thing, and what we wanted to be as new patients was another. So we had this conflicting data, and we'd have to do everything by hand. Now, a big reason why I'm here at Dental Intel is because I know how hard that is. It is difficult to track hand, one, tooth, everything out by hand to improve your practice. So what we created was automatically it grabs the data every night and then tells you what to do or what's in the windshield, right? Not what happened it tells you what happened in the past as well, but it tells you what to do in the future, like looking out a windshield. So that's a lot along the same lines of not knowing what to do or looking at reports and the multiple of them and whatnot. So I hope that
Absolutely.
follows up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I got turned on to Dental Intel is that we, like you said, you worked for a company that did CFO, accounting, CPA type services for dentists, which is a lot of what Dentist Metrics started out as. We originally started out as outsourced CFOs for dental practices. So the way that we explain that to people was that, hey, we are in the dental industry now. We want to learn everything we can about the dental industry. So pretty much we'll come into your practice, and for a modest fee, we will help you with anything that is numbers related. Anything that has a dollar sign in front of it, we're going to try and help you with. So we got in and we realized how little management was done in some of these practices in the past from a financial aspect. Things like renegotiating insurance contracts, looking at your supply costs, looking at your lab costs, looking at how much we pay our employees. Are we competitive? Are we not competitive? How much? How can we gauge if a scheduler, the person who's the head of our schedule, is doing a good job or not? Are we justifying how much we're paying this person? How do we tell if the person in the front desk is doing a good job of talking to people and activating recall? All of these things that came up in a lot of things, we said, okay, well, we know that we can use numbers to gauge these. We can quantifiably say if our schedule is at this level, then we know this person is doing at least what we're asking them to do. And then I found out that in so many practices, they have no idea how to be able to set that system up or how to be able to look at that. And so we said, okay, what we're going to do is
Why would they?
yeah.
Where and why would they know? Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So what we said is, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create. We offered we eventually stopped doing the outsourced CFO services, but we did offer, in addition to our traditional CPA services and our coaching services and things like that, a practice management dashboard system, to where what we did is we would set up we'd ask for XYZ ABCDEFG reports from the front office manager, and they would send that to us every night. And we would get this information and we'd load it into this
manual dashboard that we would do using these softwares that are really good softwares, but we had to do it all by hand. So we were spending, an hour or two for each practice each night. We had a team developed that we hired to do all this work for us. And it was a ton of work just from CPAs that are, we're used to data. We love data. And we're big technology people, like I said before. We're used to getting all this stuff set up. And so what we did is we were doing all this by hand, trying to get this to spit out meaningful information. And what we would find is that the data being put into the system was wrong. We'd find that there would be changes after the fact, that we'd have to go in and change other information. We found that it was taking us, if it takes us 2 hours a night, that's 10 hours a week, basically per practice, setting up all this information to be able to get anything outside of what I call financial management. So my financial management is what I define as looking at your expenses and looking at your revenue and being able to benchmark that or compare that to other practices to see if you're doing a good job of managing those expenses. I call that financial management. That, for an accounting firm, is what we really do well. It's easy for us to do. We have lots of conversations with people. We teach people how to look at that in their practice from dentist metrics, so that they understand what their numbers mean from a financial standpoint. What I'm talking about here is practice management stuff, which is, patient behavior and your processes, business process behavior within your practice, which is a component of that is definitely financial management. But we were trying to build these things to give this information to people. And what we'd find is, like I said, the data was bad. The data would change. It took a lot of time for us to be able to do it. So it was really expensive. And then what ended up happening is that we were meshing all of these things together, and it was, it looked well, it served its purpose, but it was a little bit lacking. So we ended up offering that. And one of the reasons we stopped offering that is because we found software like Dental Intel and said, hey, this is more, number one, it costs less than what we were doing. We were charging people more money for what some of the fees were for software. It automates it. It does it every day. It does like you said, it looks into the past, as well as it looks into the future, as long as they're using the software correctly. So I try to stay objective in a lot of interviews. I'm starting to think back in this one, I sound a lot less objective than I try to do typically. But the reason is because I really believe in the product. It's a really good looking software. And I really believe that financial management and or practice management data can help drive a practice to be a better dental practice. The old Drucker saying is, what's managed is improved. Counter to that is what is not measured is not improved. And like you said before, a lot of people, they try to do too many things at once. They get overwhelmed, they get burnt out. And what happens almost immediately after that is they stop worrying about it and they just fall into the old habits. I believe that having these really good views of the data and what's happening in a practice can really drive that change. And if it doesn't, then that tool isn't for you, because all of these things that we talk about, they're all tools, right? I use an analogy.
Oh, yeah.
I use an analogy with people that, you wouldn't rent a jackhammer if you weren't going to use it. And if you weren't using it anymore, you take it back to the store, right? Or you'd quit using it. So that same analogy applies for software. It applies for consultants. It applies for services. It applies for everything in every business owner's life. So these things are all tools. You have to use them. And I've seen people that have used them. It does allow them it allows them to spend less time trying to figure out the data. It allows them to have more clarity about what's happening in the practice, and allows them to drive more conversations to be able to make those changes. So
Richard, just 2 seconds on that, Jonathan. I think dentists really understand that concept better than really anyone. I mean, think about if you find a better tool to help you do your dentistry, don't you want to use it? Don't you want to use it consistently? Now, let's say, for example, you get a new those new lasers, right? You get a new laser and you're not sure how to use it, even though it could be very beneficial for you. You don't know how to use it. It's very difficult. You're you're not sure how to turn on. Anyway, you go through all these things. What's that tool going to do? Eventually, it's going to sit up here on the shelf,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're never going to use it. You spend all that money, and you're just going to be like, I don't even want to think about it. I'm just going to use my Explorer and my drill. Unless we know how to use it, it really is useless. And so that is another thing that we offer here at our company, is, which is very unusual. In fact, we have a lot of people say, why, as a software company, are you teaching your clients, aka the dentists, how to use the software? People should just be able to learn how to use it on their own. And we take a full different approach on that. We think we want you to know your dashboards or your data better than us. We want to teach you so that you know your data, your dashboards, what it's saying better than what I could tell you. And so it's a little different concept, but you're just, as far as a tool, you're absolutely right. If you don't use it, why even have it?
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that we stopped offering what we were doing beforehand, because while we thought that what we were giving people was worth it, we found that people weren't using it enough. And my clients can testament to this, that I will, if someone is paying me for a service that they're not using, I will fire them from that service, because as I believe wholly in the financial management portion of my coaching of my company, that if you're paying me for something that you're not using or utilizing, you shouldn't be paying me for that, even if it's to me. So, taking the dashboard CFO services type deal, we reduced our fees greatly for a lot of clients, and our net that we made on that money was much less after we canceled that service. But just me as a person said, I can't offer this service because it's not delivering the value that people need. And that's, why we now refer to other people to do that for us, that we feel like do it better. We said, hey, we don't want to go and develop this ourselves. We want to, there's a good solution out there. Let's go ahead and use somebody else. So that's the reason we utilize dental intel with those people that need that now. So explain to me a little bit more about the coaching side of things for the people that may be listening to this, to what, how that works, and why is it important to coach people how to use the software?
Yeah, well, first off, and if you have a pen and paper out, these are really 4 really important things. Every practice needs to understand there's 4 main parts to a practice. Number 1, there's visits, whether that's new patients, whether that's getting more your patients back in. I don't care what it is. It's more visits is what we want to make sure we're improving or keeping the same. Number 2 is production. Production's king. Everything revolves around production. Number 3 is how much we collect off of what we produce. So collections. All 3 things are what we're really focusing on within a practice right now.
Mm-hmm.
The 4th one, though, is very important as well, and a lot of times overlooked. What do we do with our money once we collect it? And that's kind of what you've been talking about, Jonathan, as far as overhead and making sure that you're at the right amount. But in addition, what are you doing with that money once you collect it? How are you improving the value of your practice with that? So with these 4 things, there's the first 3, we want to make sure that you understand how to use the dashboard on that. So we provide training. It's not necessarily really coaching. It's more of a training. It's going through making sure that you know how to use it, right? Not telling you what to do, just how the dashboard works, how it's improving dentists' lives. So that's one aspect of it. That's so you get training. You get trained on how to use it. The second part that we offer to our doctors, it's a human element, is an analyst. You've seen many different times, and in fact, it's becoming huge in sports, where an analyst is looking at all the numbers and saying, okay, based on the numbers, we need to get this type of guy, a guy who shoots 56%, a guy who, I don't care what's his name, I need something that's shooting, making this type of numbers for our team, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the analyst does. So he looks at all your numbers. He doesn't care who you are, what you look like, what you smell like. He takes all your data and tells you, okay, based on this information, if you want to hit $6 million this year, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to improve. Now go out and do it. Most of the time, the team knows. If you tell them specifically what they need to do, the team knows. But if you go out and say, team, I need you to go get increased production. I want to make $6 million this year. I need to get me a new car in the back. I want you to go out and make me a lot more money. Go produce. Versus next week, I want to make sure we have 40 visits. Next week, I want to make sure that we have over $300 per visit. Those specific items, teams can know how to do. Now, if they don't, that's the time to get a consultant. Not a consultant to come in and find out exactly everything that's going on. No, a consultant that knows if you're, like, let's say you're struggling with case presentation, right? You find somebody who is an expert in case presentation, bring them in, and now you just improve that metric rather than having somebody come in and say, well, you could do this and this and this and this and this and charge you $50,000 for a year. Now you get very inexpensive, but specific training on what you know you need. And that's why an analyst, you have them 24/7 available, always, as long as you use our product. You can call them up, email them, text them. You can even go over to his house if you live nearby. So those are the human elements that we provide on training and telling you how to use it, and then also what the numbers are saying in order to hit your goals.
Talking about the staff members being involved with having a number in it, I have what I say are the three core components of being a good leader for managing employees. And that is that number one, you have to set an expectation. You have to let them know what is expected of them in their role or responsibility, whether that be numbers based or just, them making sure that the person that is answering the phone is being nice, or that you have to set an expectation. I love to use numbers to be able to define that. Some people have more problems than others to do that. The second is to hold people accountable for those expectations. So if it's a numbers based deal, it's you either pass or you fail it. If you do better than that, you've passed. If you do worse than that, you fail it. And the last is to be consistent, to consistently make sure that those expectations are being gauged and being judged. And if people aren't meeting those expectations, we have to go in and then look and say, okay, is it because we have bad training? Is it because we've done something wrong? Have we not given this person all the tools available to utilize these expectations? How can we help this person meet those expectations? But a lot of the time, and I'm sure that you've helped deal with this in the past as well, is a lot of the times what we find is the people that aren't meeting those expectations, they don't care about the expectations. And guess what? Those are typically bad employees. That actually serves two purposes. Of number one, the great employees are going to rise to the top, and you're going to be able to then filter out and see who your employees are that just don't care about the business in general. So that's one of the core leading philosophies that I like to talk to my clients about. So
yeah, in fact, have you ever heard of John Meese, Jonathan?
I have. Mm-hmm.
Good friend. Love him. Beautiful family, everything. But he said something really funny. You can either change people or change people. It's one or the other. You can either change their behaviors or you can change them physically, meaning replace them with somebody else. So change people or change people. It's so common. And you're right. A lot of times it is with training, but oftentimes it's also just a person. It's hard to, if somebody's not willing to change, you can't change them.
Absolutely. So the practice management software, or the Dental Intel, it hooks up to the practice management software. It pulls out the data every night. It gives you these dashboards that shows you your past, it shows you your future, and it allows you to set goals to be able to see each of these different little components. If there's anyone out there that is listening right now that is, considering whether this might be the tool for them or not for them, what is a really good client or good subscriber to Dental Intel look like that can be able to make these changes happen? Can you give us like kind of a persona of a person?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's somebody who wants to become better. It's somebody who wants to know what they need to do to become better. If you just want to be the same, if you just want to stay exactly where you are and hope to do better, then that's fine. But if you want to make sure you either stay the same or make sure that you're going to increase, it's only by numbers. There was another really good example here. 2 years ago, we did a body fat contest in our office. And we got in this bod pod. I don't know if you ever heard of those before, but you get in this little pod, and it measures your body fat percentage. And so we did that, and then 3 months later we did it again, and whoever lost the most percentage won, right? And so in order for us to make sure that we hit our goals, or to lose the most body fat, you had to jump on the scale every day. You had to look and see what was happening, and try to improve. So I went on this whole crazy diet. Well, actually, it wasn't that crazy. Did just protein and vegetables. It felt the best I've ever felt before. At the end of the contest, I wanted to make sure to maintain my weight. So I went down in weight, and then I wanted to maintain it. In order to do that, I needed to be on the scale every day, often, to make sure I'm monitoring where I'm at, so that it's not 10 pounds later and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm 10 pounds overweight, and I'll throw the towel in, I'm done. But if an office wants to become better or maintain exactly where they are, those are the types of people we like working with. And we work with people all across the country, GPs, orthos, pediatric, the whole bit, and love working with them. It's fun to get that connection to, like I said, I eat, breathe, sleep, and drink it, and often even vacation it. And so we love to work with anybody in that realm.
That's great. So the way that I really, I'll be honest, when I first heard about Dental Intel, I was a little bit, I was very skeptic, because I'm pretty skeptic of any solution that I hear about in the dental industry, just because there's so many people that I feel like that target the dental industry because of all the problems we've talked about before, and I've talked about them before on the podcast. And so I got a demo. We looked at the demo, and I still wasn't quite sold on it. And so what happened was, we ended up doing a demo with, I got one of my clients had been interested in the product in the past. And I said, hey, let's see if we can't make this work with this client. And literally we got the client involved. And whenever we saw their information used within the system, it really kind of changed my perspective on things. So if there's anyone out there, it changed my perspective, because I actually got to see my client enjoying the software, enjoying the process. And this is a person that is very, very analytically driven. Is one of the reasons that I work with her. She is someone who, quizzes me a lot of the times on different ways to do things, and she really values my advice, and she really runs a tight ship and does a really good job of it from an expense management, financial management standpoint. So she was looking for a solution from the practice management side, and Dental Intel has actually helped fill that with her. And she's signed on she's a multiple practice owner, and she really enjoys it. So that's how we kind of got connected. And being able to see that in her practice was kind of the area where a kind of a light bulb went off for myself, and as well as the practice owner. So is there any way for the listeners out there to be able to have that kind of light bulb moment with your practice, with the Dental Intel?
It's a good question. That's something we don't do too often, but I did speak with a few of my team members who, by the way, Weston is the one that you did the intro with one of your clients. And it's true. Once you see your data on an intelligent board, not just a report, but on an intelligent board that's telling you what to do, it makes a lot more sense. It brings it in a lot closer, just kind of like watching a baby video. I mean, if you watch somebody else's baby video, it's not that interesting. When you see your own baby video, it's fun to look at. But along those same lines, what we worked out with is, without any of your podcast listeners that reaches out to you, specifically, Jonathan, we will light them up, or we'll pull all their data for them, a one-time deal, and show them exactly what's going on. And if they want to just take that and say thank you, goodbye, awesome. If they want to look at it, using it on an ongoing basis, we'll also make sure that they receive your special pricing for on your podcast as well.
That's fantastic. So you'll be able to actually go into so anyone who wants to sign up, they'll be able to come in, you guys will be able to hook up to their practice management software and pull that information into, so they can actually have a demo with their information on there.
Correct. Yep. So we're going to pull that data. It takes about 24 hours for it to normalize, all the data to normalize. But once we pull the data, we'll do a screen share with you and show you all your data, let you see how awesome it is and how leading by numbers is now very simple and easy. It's not task daunting or anything like that. It's like looking at Instagram. Very easy and enjoyable. So yeah, love to do that with you guys. With any of your podcast members, just reach out to Jonathan. We'll hook you guys up.
Fantastic. And what, just so we're clear, what is the cost to the listeners for getting that, having you guys log in and be able to get this set up? Because I know there's cost for you guys involved in that. So what would the price be for the people that are getting that picture of their practice?
Good question. Absolutely zero. Free, nothing, because they're with you, absolutely free. And so if they want to continue on, we're going to waive that initial setup fee. One nice thing is that our dentists who understand the importance of numbers don't view this as an expense. In fact, somebody on Dental Town said recently, in 1 week, I paid for a year of dental intel because now I can understand and I knew exactly what I needed to do to increase my practice. And they get it. The people who understand numbers, those corporate type practices, the ones that are business minded, get it. They know that if they don't have a pulse, if they don't have a visual pulse on what's going on in the practice, they're driving blind. They're driving blindfolded. And so it's more valuable to them than their best assistant. And that's what we aim to do. We're always improving too. As you've seen, we're updates monthly on always improving the software.
Absolutely. And just since we've started our relationship, I've seen multiple updates within the software, which is not common with a lot of cloud-based softwares. And it's been good updates too. Very, very nice user interface items. That's a heck of a deal to be able to get some clarity behind your practice. So Curtis, thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining us. If anyone else wants to reach out with you, what's a good way for them to be able to get in contact with you?
Who doesn't have a cell phone? Best way is text. Text me, 801-380-7070. I mean, that's the best way to get me, let's be honest. So feel free to text me. You can also find us online at dentalintel.com, INTEL. But shoot me a text, 801-380-7070.
All right. Thanks, Curtis. Appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Jonathan. You too.
So special thanks to Curtis Marshall and the folks at Dental Intel. And so from listening to this episode or just to this podcast in general, I am a true believer in knowing the numbers in your practice. It really is everything. What is measured is improved. What's not measured is not improved. And whenever you focus on the numbers, you get this laser focus of what should be improving, and you really can understand how to make your practice move. So just like you heard at the beginning, they made an offer from Curtis that I've not heard them make anywhere else. If you are interested in a zero obligation, zero risk look into the numbers in your business, even without being a paid customer of Dental Intel, then here's what you need to do right now. Text practice to 33444. Again, that's practice to 33444, or visit startyourdentalpractice.com/bonus if you're outside of the U.S. to be put into contact with the Dental Intel team in Curtis. So click on episode 21 and you'll get connected with the Dental Intel members immediately so that they can help you run your practice's numbers and give you the best insight you could possibly get for your business to see what's working and what's not. And what's crazy is that it's for free that you're going to be able to get that. They're going to be able to give you a snapshot of where you are right now. They're going to be able to give you a demo with your practice's numbers, saying what you've done in the past year, what you've done in the past month, what you've done in the past week, what you've done in the past day, what you're going to do tomorrow, the next week, the next year. They're going to be able to tell you all this, and they're doing it for free for your demo, which is to me an amazing offer. And I really urge you to take that. So real quick thing as well, I am an affiliate of Dental Intel, so I receive a small advertising fee for having people sign up. That does not, if they didn't pay me anything for this, I would still be singing their praises, as I do a lot of the good softwares. If I didn't like their software, they couldn't pay me enough money to have them on the show or to talk about them or send my listeners to them. So if you're one of the people that, one of the many people that have reached out to me and said, that they'd like to support the show, this is a great way to support the show. Go on and, talk to the guys at Dental Intel. And, if that product is what is going to help you in your practice, again, it's zero cost, zero risk, zero obligation, then go ahead and do that. That'd be a big help to the podcast. There's not a whole lot of money in podcasting, but this is a way for you to be able to support our show and support our sponsors that eventually come through. So anyway, thank you so much for your time, guys, and hope to talk to you guys soon. So that's it for today's episode, but that doesn't mean that the learning and implementation have to stop there. I've created a free report called The 15 Numbers That Will Make or Break Your Dental Practice. This report has been downloaded over 1,000 times by dental professionals. So if you want your free copy of this report that's going to outline what the most important numbers are in any dental practice, and it also includes how to look at your numbers, how to set goals, has a whole slew of really important information that is the culmination of all of my experience as a dental CPA, then just go to startyourdentalpractice.com/free gift. That is startyourdentalpractice.com/free gift. And so that's it for today, Ambitious Dentist. Again, I'm Jonathan Van Horn, CPA and ABV. I'll see you next week with another world-class practice owner or consultant that will help you start your very own dental practice. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Start Your Dental Practice community. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor and go to startyourdentalpractice.com/iTunes to leave your honest feedback and review on iTunes. It's going to help me create a better experience, a better show, a better podcast for you, the ambitious dentist. Your feedback really does help, regardless if you like the show today or not. If you didn't like the show, let me know, because it's going to help me create a better show and podcast for you. Lastly, if you know of anybody that would benefit from today's episode and today's content, today's guest, please feel free to share with them on social media or through email.